Alright, welcome everybody. So I am back and bringing you guys a brand new movie review, and this is going to be for Batman Begins. So Batman Begins is an origin story for the Batman. The Batman this time being played by Christian Bale, and this is directed by Christopher Nolan. This is actually one of my favorite Batman origin stories, so this is also one of those movies that I come back to, like I said before in my previous video, from time to time and kind of watching. This is a true to form Batman origin story, so if you've seen Batman in sort of the other iterations, you're going to understand sort of where this story is coming from. This movie opens up where you see sort of Bruce Wayne as a young kid. He's afraid of bats, obviously, falls down in sort of a well in Wayne Manor, and his father Thomas Wayne comes down and he's like, why do we fall, Bruce? And he's like, I don't know. And then he's like, to pick ourselves back up again or something like that. This movie has a lot of really quotable lines, and I do sort of quote some of these lines from time to time when I'm just out and about and doing stuff. And like I said before in countless other videos, that, you know, the mark of a good movie is one that you can kind of quote a billion times over, and something that also doesn't get old. And this movie definitely doesn't get old even as time goes on. You know, Bruce Wayne goes from being this sort of orphan kid to becoming the Batman, and he does that in several stages. This is the classic origin story, or the hero's journey, where the hero kind of refuses the call but then is called to action. This kind of starts out when Bruce Wayne is taken by his father Thomas Wayne and his mother. They go to an opera house and they're seeing, I think, the Phantom of the Opera, and Bruce Wayne is sitting there. He's kind of afraid of all the bats and stuff because of what happened in the well. He asks his father if they can go outside, and then he is murdered by the same people that they're trying to help. Wayne Enterprises is all about, you know, helping the poor and helping the weak and helping the people that can't fight for themselves. So this is a real big shock to especially Bruce Wayne as a young child. Bruce Wayne ends up going overseas and he's pretty much thrown in prison. He's become sort of a monk and someone that doesn't really like talking to people. You know, he fights with a bunch of prison guards, and that's when, you know, he's introduced to Liam Neeson, who is Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul is part of the League of Shadows, and they've pretty much been a group or a league that has been around for centuries, toppling governments and tyrannical sort of societies within history. Ra's al Ghul offers to train Bruce Wayne, and then Bruce Wayne ends up going to his sort of, you know, retreat, and it's on sort of like the Arctic ice sheets and stuff like that, and they do this really cool, awesome action sequence where they fight pretty much in the ice, and Ra's al Ghul is training him the ways of learning to fight like the League of Shadows, which is basically like sort of a ninja style organization. You know, they value the katana a lot. They value sort of mind games and the use of supernatural abilities in order to regain control over their opponents. Bruce Wayne ends up going back to Gotham, which Gotham is still in pretty much a wreck, as Bruce Wayne kind of left it before when he was a kid. Bruce Wayne kind of blames himself for the death of his family, and he's consoled by Alfred, who doesn't really think that he should be blaming himself for the death of his parents, but Bruce Wayne is sort of hard-headed, so he doesn't really take his advice as well as he probably should. Alfred being played by Michael Caine, and Michael Caine's character in this film is pretty much the butler. You know, he's always there by Bruce's side and everything, and trying to help him even in his times of need. We've also got Rachel Dawes, who's played by Katie Holmes. Katie Holmes actually was Tom Cruise's wife at one point in time during the filming of this movie. She does a really fantastic job as Bruce Wayne's love interest, and she's also in sort of the psychiatric ward of Arkham Asylum, where you meet Kane. Kane is played by Cillian Murphy, and he's pretty much Scarecrow. He's using narcotics by Falcone's organization, which is part of the League of Shadows, to pretty much make mind-controlled drugs that kind of hallucinate the people that are used against it. There's also a weapon that is kind of being stolen at the same time by Liam Neeson, or Ra's al Ghul, which is also sort of the same weapon, where he kind of puts narcotics into the water supply, and then eventually that causes people to hallucinate later on in the film when they attack Gotham City. Bruce Wayne is pretty much shown what is going on and everything, and so he attempts to stop and fight them. We get this really awesome sequence within the shipping containers where Bruce Wayne pretty much picks up one of Falcone's goons and is like, I'm Batman, and that really cool action sequence where he takes him out and everything. Falcone is placed in Arkham Asylum, where Crane eventually meets him and uses the narcotics that he's pretty much given him against him to kind of like fear monger him as well. Falcone being like, you know what, this isn't gonna scare me, I'm pretty much the toughest mob boss there is, and he eventually does kind of make him go a little bit crazy. So then you get Liam Neeson. He kind of tracks down Bruce Wayne at this party at Wayne Manor. Bruce Wayne pretty much telling everybody to leave eventually because he doesn't want his father's friend to be associated with him, which is just a cover because Liam Neeson is about to burn this place to the ground. Liam Neeson burns Wayne Manor to the ground, and so starts the chase sequence between Christian Bale going after him in the Tumbler, which is this awesome military style vehicle that's been turned into the Batmobile in this movie. And they kind of explain it early on in the movie where Lucius Fox kind of takes Bruce Wayne down to sort of the Wayne Enterprises research facility, where he pretty much tests all these weapons and stuff, and that's where you get the cool looking body armor that's used as the bat suit within this film, as well as sort of the memory fabric that uses for the wingsuit and stuff for the bat suit. And, you know, Lucius Fox knows what he's up to, but he's not about to say it to Bruce Wayne, who Bruce Wayne kind of understands that this seems a little bit fishy. And Lucius Fox, played by Morgan Freeman, is kind of like, you don't have to tell me what's going on, don't play me for a fool, and that all this stuff is basically yours anyway. And that's kind of how he gets all the gear. And you really get that cool sequence where they're kind of test driving the Tumbler down in the research facility, and that's when Bruce Wayne turns to Lucius Fox and he's like, yeah, does this come in black, which is pretty much a quotable line. I think everybody pretty much has used it at one point or time in their life. And this movie is great. I think everything from the action sequences to the story to the plot to the characters. Even Alfred is, as the butler, kind of gets some really good lines in there where he's kind of trying to help Bruce Wayne out even when his parents are kind of dead, and he's trying to mourn the loss of his family members and stuff. And Alfred's always there at his side to kind of tell Bruce Wayne that everything's gonna be okay, and eventually it is. And you also got Rachel, who's the love interest of the film. She doesn't really know who Batman is, but he's always there. And then eventually he's like, it's not what I do that's important, it's who I am on the inside, or something like that. And then she eventually realizes that while all this chaotic event is going on, when they unleash the sort of narcotics weapon upon the populace of Gotham, and then you get that really cool teaser at the end of this movie where Gordon, played by Gary Oldman, is given the Joker card and everything. He's pretty much saying that there's a new bad guy on the horizon. That's when you're gonna get Dark Knight, and then the Dark Knight Rises after this. And all these actors have really good roles. They all have important parts within the story. No actor feels wasted. No actor feels like their part doesn't matter. I think if you haven't watched this movie, you should definitely check it out since it's free on Netflix. It's definitely a really fun one to watch. Like I said, the action sequences are great. The story is great. The score by Hans Zimmer is really awesome. You get that really pumping score by Hans Zimmer, and I think he's really on top of his game in this movie as well as The Dark Knight. I think that both of these movies are his crowning achievement, and I think that years down the line, even people, decades to come, will be watching this movie and studying this film for what it is, and the sound design and the visual effect and some of the stuff that is so crazy that's happening on the screen that you'd think is like CG is actually done for real, either done by miniatures or a stunt team. So I think nowadays modern movies would just use CGI just because you don't have to hurt the actors, you don't have to do anything that would be too crazy that would kind of kill somebody on set. So that's why they choose to do sort of a plate shot, and then they kind of move and do the CG effects afterwards. So I think that's why most people nowadays would choose to do CGI, whereas with Christopher Nolan, he likes to get everything in camera, and then he is sort of like the Steven Spielberg of our time or the George Lucas of our time. And I think his movies will be studied years down the line just because they're so great. He also writes with his brother, and I think that also adds an effect to it because him and his brother kind of bounce back and forth off each other in terms of the screenplays and stuff. I have all the screenplays for the Batman trilogy on my shelf, and I think they're really, really good reads. So if you are interested in that after you see these movies, definitely pick them up because I think they're really worth your time. It really teaches you something about how screenwriting and stuff like that works within film, and I think if you watch this back to back within movies, you kind of get better as a screenwriter yourself from watching them. But everything about this movie is just great. The origin story is awesome. This movie could get really, really stale fast. We've seen in like later iterations of the Batman saga, especially with how they keep on constantly killing sort of Thomas Wayne and Bruce Wayne's family. It's kind of like what they did with Peter Parker and Uncle Ben. They just keep rehashing it. Like, I would be fine with it if they only did it for like a split second in sort of a flashback sequence, but to constantly hitting us over the head. We know the origin story of Bruce Wayne. We've seen it with this movie. We don't have to see it again. I don't know why they keep doing it, but they end up doing it anyway. So I would have to give Batman Begins an A+. I think this definitely goes on the roster of really great movies that you definitely have fun watching, and it is definitely something, like I said before, that you're gonna have a lot of rewatchability factor in this. I keep constantly watching this, even if it's on Netflix. I'll put this on, or I'll put in the Blu-ray since I have the Blu-rays of all three of these movies and stuff, and it never seems to get old. I think with a lot of movies nowadays, just because of the CGI factor and the fact that stories nowadays aren't as good as this, I think they get old pretty fast. But that's just my opinion, so let me know in the comment section below what you think about this movie as well as film in general, and hopefully you guys learn a thing or two about the film industry. And as always, guys, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.